Here's a name you might know, Frank Roche. He holds a master's degree in economics and is a trained financial market economist with over 20 years experience in capital markets focused on the currency market. He is expert in public policy and global markets analysis and translating economic data for investing and policy formation. Frank is also the host of the popular conservative talk show, The Frank Roche Show, on Rush Radio 106.1 WRDU FM. He does conservative talk with a unique focus on economics and finance, so I'm sure it will come as no surprise that Frank Roche is running for the office of North Carolina State Treasurer. Please welcome Frank.
Okay, before I get in trouble, I have to correct one thing. My show on Rush Radio has been suspended due to equal time provisions from 1934 Act of the Congress. So I wish I was still on air, but I'm doing the Frank Roche Show on my website, rochefortreasure.com. I published a show yesterday, twice a week, 1 hour per. It's the same strong conservative message with an economics twist. Go check it out. I think you'll love it. Nice to be with you here today. What a beautiful evening to talk about taxes. Let us not forget, this is a tax day tea party, so I thought I'd be the guy to talk about taxes. Those of you who listen to my show know I'm a data freak, and so I'm going to present some numbers to you that will make you a little nervous today. You probably know them already. How many are aware of this statistic that 49% of Americans do not pay taxes? Can I get some applause? All right, let's get some louder applause on how many people are bothered by that fact. How many are bothered by that fact? I suspected that would be the response. And here is where the tough challenge comes in. Here is where the courage comes in. Here is where the need for knowledge and experience comes in. Because you know how you get those 49% of Americans to pay more taxes? You eliminate the family tax credit. You eliminate the child tax credit. You eliminate the mortgage interest rate deduction credit. Now all of a sudden the crowd is hushed just a little bit. Because we hear about these things and we covet these things, don't we? Those of us in this group right now who own a home and enjoy that mortgage deduction, let us recognize these are the reasons why our fellow Americans, 49%, are not paying taxes. It's because of the deductions in the tax code. Now I ask you, take that with you when you go home today and think about that. How serious are we about tackling our debt problem? How serious are we about tackling our deficit problem? You must know, revenues equal expenditures, there's no deficit. Expenditures greater than revenues, we have the deficit. So what is going to be the choice? Who's going to make that tough choice? You know I would, but these are the challenges. This is where the courage comes in, because we all are angry that 49% of our fellow Americans aren't paying those taxes. But we all advocate for those tax breaks. So we need to check that intellectual connection and make sure we're going forward in the right way. Someone is going to have to pay in order for America to get back on the right path. We do it on our own terms, or financial markets and foreign nationals do it for us. Remember, tax day again, it's about expenditures and it's about matching revenues. We don't have a match between revenues and expenditures, do we? We don't have it at the federal level, we rarely have it at the state level, we don't have it at the local level. And as a result, we have these massive deficit problems. You may have heard for the month of March, the United States ran a deficit of $198 billion. The month of March, 1 month, $198 billion deficit, an all-time record for the history of the United States. You may have heard also in February of this year, we ran a deficit for 1 month of $188 billion. Those are scary numbers. I tell you every week on my radio show, I talk to you about Treasury auctions, what the Treasury is doing every week to finance ongoing government operations. This past week, the U.S. Treasury Department, headed by Tim Geithner, auctioned $156 billion of U.S. Treasuries. A lot of people bought those Treasuries, and we financed that borrowing with no problem at very low interest rates. But still, we continue down the same path. We spend $3.5 trillion a year. In taxes, remember this is tax day, in taxes we take in $2.2 trillion a year. $6 billion a day of revenue, $9.5 billion a day of expenditures, a $1.3 trillion annual deficit, $3.5 billion a day we are short every single day. If the Treasury cannot auction bonds on Monday, on Tuesday, half of the government expenditures cannot be paid for. I want you to let that sink in. If we cannot auction treasuries on Monday, if somehow the world decides that's it for the U.S. government, the next day, 49% of all our obligations will not be met. Do we want to sort that out on our terms, or do we want to sort the terms on someone else's grounds? We want that on our terms, ladies and gentlemen. In North Carolina, we have the same problem. And that's why I'm motivated to run for North Carolina State Treasurer. You know my background, you know my expertise, you know I live and breathe these things. In North Carolina, we have similar problems. $17.3 billion in debt in the past 3 years. Interest payments on an annual basis for our state debt, $804 million in interest payments, the fourth largest expenditure at the state level. Local debt last year increased $10 billion. Special debt last year increased $4.1 billion. State debt last year increased $3.2 billion. The same problems we have at the national level, we have at the state level. We know that because it's the move left in our country. It's the power of the left that's dragged us away from the center that was to the right of us. And even at the state level, even what was once a red state is now on the same path. Who's going to say no? Who's going to have the courage to stand up and say no? This is a different path you have to take. I will. Frank Roche will. As your representative, North Carolina State Treasurer. I need your help, ladies and gentlemen. It's a huge state. It's a spectacular state. It's a beautiful state. Amazing commercial development, amazing residential development. Really impressive. I can't reach everyone between now and May 8th. I ask you, please, do your homework on Frank Roche. Go visit my website. See me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. Look at my videos on YouTube. Please tell your friends, your family across the state, you have a guy actually qualified for a seat that has never been held by a Republican in the history of the state of North Carolina. Time is now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it on our terms. I want you to vote Frank Roche for North Carolina State Treasurer. Thank you all very much.